your name, where you're from. Oh, Brittany, remember to start the recording. Excellent job. We just record the speaker, and that way we can share it with people that weren't able to join. So I'm Jackie Lamore, one of the co-facilitators. My JEDI journey started, when all of the Breonna Taylor and different murders that were happening in the news really caught my attention, like much of the nation, and I just really started digging deeper into what was going on. So I feel like I've learned so much since then, and I'm really honored to co-facilitate this COP. And I'll let Roberta introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Roberta Burns with the Division for Air Quality, State Government. My JEDI journey started around a few years before that with Ferguson, and then when all the Black Lives Matter protests over the police killings happened, that is when I really felt like I needed to do more than just sit on the sidelines. And thankfully, the timing was perfect with KAEE and the JEDI class, and this group was sort of born out of those efforts.
And I am Brittany Ray. I'm the Deputy Director for KAEE and one of the co-facilitators for this group as well. And it's an honor, as Jackie mentioned, to serve in this role. My JEDI journey really began when I started working for KAEE back in 2016. We did a workshop at my first NAAEE conference that was in Madison, and that was like just a whole new world opening up for me. And it's been such a great learning experience ever since then. And of course, all the recent things that have happened in the past 4 or 5 years have really amplified my desire to learn more and to grow in this work. So I am glad to be here co-facilitating with you all. And I'm so glad that you all decided to join us today.
So I want to begin today by acknowledging the lands upon which we're meeting, which are the ancestral and unceded territories of the Yuchi, Osage, Shawnee, and Cherokee people. I actually just had to Google what unceded meant, and it means that they were never like signed away. So I thought that was maybe an important thing to define. For our agenda, I'm going to briefly discuss the vision of the group and the learning pathways. And then we have our guest speaker, Bruce Young, who Brittany is going to introduce. We'll have questions and discussions for him, and then a brief wrap up of just what's coming up next. So our vision is really a community where we're all learning together and to foster and support practices of racial justice, equity, inclusion, and diversity in the outdoors and environmental work. We are actually, based on feedback we've gotten, expanding that to kind of the larger definition of JEDI to include like accessibility and some other minority issues. So I guess maybe we've changed that a little bit. And then our learning pathways are increasing vocabulary, engaging across human differences, agreeing and disagreeing there is fine as long as it's respectful, and embracing our overall journey in intersectionality. And
awesome. And
Brittany.
Yeah, it is my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Bruce Young. Bruce is the Affiliate Relations Specialist for the North American Association for Environmental Education. We're an affiliate of NAAEE, and he does an incredible job of supporting KAEE and all the other affiliates like KAEE across the U.S. and in North America. So Bruce has served on the board of the Virginia Association for Environmental Education. He's helped develop and pilot Virginia's upcoming environmental ed certification program. And he's an inaugural member of the Virginia EE Certification Advisory Board. When he's not working with environmental education groups, he can be found following his second passion, musical theater, be it performing on stage or as a costume designer with a variety of community theater groups. We're so glad to welcome Bruce here with us today and can't wait to learn more about the JEDI work at the national level and all the ways that we can get involved. So I'll hand it over.
Yeah, thanks, Brittany. Let me get my screen share going. You know, with all this like technology work, you think they'd be able to have it so you can just have them both shared and switch over real quick. But share that with Zoom is an improvement. All right, let me get to my loading. All right, so yes, I'm Bruce Young. I use they or he pronouns. I'm fine with either set. I am queer environmental educator based in the DC region. Also identify as non-binary and white. Just putting out some of my identities as we get going. I've been with NAAEE since 2019, started in September of 2019. And before that, I was on the board of the Virginia affiliate for about 3 years before that. I started with them in November of 2016. And my approach to JEDI work really came in earnest. I was living in Charlottesville, Virginia during the Unite the Right rally. And I taught 5th grade in the year right after that. And I was teaching Virginia studies. As well as science in that community. And we were really not prepared to work with students, both with the whole event, why the event happened, and the history of the event. We were not prepared to deal with students who they had some trauma out of that event because they lived in the community around the park, in the apartments around the park. Some of my kids' students were there or their parents were there. So it just, that really blew my eyes open. I had done some other JEDI related workshops and that kind of thing, but that event really made it hit home. I reflected when the rally happened that I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, home of the sit-in movement, the World War of North Carolina A&T, and then here I am in Charlottesville for this other kind of reactionary, almost opposite event to that. And I was lucky in my teaching training program I went through that we had a cross-cultural class that we had to take, and we were looking at things like what it takes to immigrate to America. We had to do a 3 to 6 week internship with English language learners, supporting English language learners. So I did that at a school called the Newcomer School, which is kind of like a magnet school in Guilford County in North Carolina, that anyone who is coming to that community from kindergarten through 6th grade, they will go there for a semester to learn English to be able then to go into their home community school and succeed there. So my cousin was the art teacher there at the time, and it was just a really thought-provoking and really humbling experience to work with students at different age ranges with stories that I can never imagine living myself. So that was also a really eye-opening experience for me. All that to be said, I really focus a lot on equity and inclusion in my work. It is one of the things I feel like I champion the most in my work at NAAEE and with the affiliates, and it really is the core of everything I do. So today I'm going to share a little bit about what we offer at NAAEE as resources, programs, as well as like some of the internal work and processes we do as an organization, because I know some of you may be executive directors or education directors or in that leadership capacity at your organization and may want to see some of the things we're doing. And then also share a bit about the NAAEE affiliate network and what we're doing holistically as a network of affiliates across the continent and the US. So if you're not familiar with us, our vision for NAAEE is a just and sustainable world where environmental and social responsibility drive individual, institutional, and community choices. And our mission is to use the power of education to advance environmental literacy and civic engagement to create a more equitable and sustainable future. We work with educators, policymakers, and partners throughout the world. And we really talk about how we center equity in everything we do, in every network we run, in every job search we do, in every conference call for proposals we do, in every programming of our anything that we offer. We're thinking about how can we be more equitable? How can we reach more people? How can we be accessible to more people? So we're committed to being a champion for promoting justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in all aspects of our work. We believe that a wide array of perspectives allow all organizations to be more effective, more creative, and more relevant, and we honor the beliefs, attitudes, languages, interpersonal styles, and values of all individuals. So again, we drive excellence through promoting professional development and best practices in environmental ed. We cultivate collective impact by bringing people together to create change. And we mobilize support for championing environmental education at all levels, from early childhood through our Natural Start Alliance, all the way through high school or through college, through our higher ed programs, and beyond with our professional development for educators, teachers, and anyone really in the world, the field, who want to learn more about this lovely planet. So some of the ways we drive excellence is through a higher ed accreditation program, our guidelines for excellence, which KAEE does a great job of offering lots of programming around those guidelines for excellence. And then Kentucky is one of our accredited EE certification programs, one of, I believe, now 8 in the country. So if you're not already certified through Kentucky, I know KEE isn't running that, but it's a program in Kentucky. It's a great resource. And I know when I was helping build the Virginia certification program, we leaned a lot on Kentucky and North Carolina to help us kind of fill in what do we want our local program to look like. So another way we drive excellence is through some of our awards programs. So each year we do a 30 under 30 program through our JEEP, which is our Global Environmental Education Partnership. And it is one of the thrills of my year is to serve as a reviewer for this program. So I always serve through the initial review and just the inspiring work that young folks are doing across the world. We have, I don't remember how many countries now that we have 30 under 30 members from, but it is, I wish I could travel to all the places that we have people that we've recognized over the years. And the new class will be announced probably, I think, later this summer. So this is everyone from last year. Last year was actually a 31 under 30 because they could not decide how they could cut it down to just 30 last year. So, and then for some of our internal work, over the last couple of years, like many organizations, we've created an organizational work plan that's all about justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in our work. Out of this kind of several month process, we created 4 goals with several sub actions. I'm not going to get into all of the sub actions because that's a whole hour in itself of everything. But we have goals for our staff, which is to deepen our JEDI professional skills and our ability as a staff to talk about JEDI and accessibility efforts, both internally and externally. So we have internally, as part of that, we have a Slack channel for JEDI resources that anyone can go on and like add, oh, I read this great article on New York Times yesterday, or oh, I saw this webinar coming up that would be a great option, or oh, here's this training on native culture and land acknowledgement and that kind of thing. We get all of these kind of resources in our Slack channel. And then one of the goals within that sub goals is for our staff to take time each quarter to do some personal learning around a topic or an identity that they don't know a lot about, or an identity they don't personally hold. so that we can continually be learning. I think all of us as environmental educators know how important lifelong learning is. And so that's an area that we, over the time we were working on it, at one point we had like a monthly goal, and then we were like, yeah, that's too ambitious. And then we were like, okay, maybe it's for the year. And they were like, well, then everybody will wait till the end of the year. And so we came up with the quarterly aspect, and anything for that counts. Webinars, listening to a podcast, like it, we don't police it. It's not anything that we report on, but it's just kind of a personal commitment to doing that learning. Another area we continuously are reiterating on and looking back to is our inclusive HR practices. And so every time we post a new job, we go through a whole process of like making sure that we're using the best and up-to-date inclusive language. Where are we posting these jobs? We're very thoughtful about, you know, what vendors are we using? What event spaces are we using? What other events are going on? We've had some times in the past where we may not have vetted that well and put people maybe not obviously in direct harm, but there was a potential for harm to happen either at a conference or at a place where we're holding an event. So we've worked through like feedback and like created a process for that. And that's kind of also fits into our events, communications and programs, advanced JEDI in those areas. So even over the years that I've been on staff, I've seen immense changes. So like we make sure that there are gender neutral bathrooms at any of our conferences. We've added lactation suites. We've included interpreters, all those kind of things that, you know, maybe 5 years ago weren't available at an NAAEE conference. But now we try to continuously improve with each in-person conference we do to be more and more accessible and inclusive. And our kind of final goal is to grow more diverse partnerships. We have a lot of partnerships. We're a network of networks. Just off the top of my head, we have our Natural Start Network, which is all early childhood, JEEP, which is our global program, the affiliate network. Then we also have like networks of cohorts of EE 30 under 30. We have our community EE fellows program. We run a lot of these networks. And so we're always looking for partners to join us in that work, to reach communities we're not reaching, to reach identities we're not reaching. And so we're trying to be a lot more intentional as good partners to build partnerships and collaborations with other organizations in the field. So some of the programs that we offer or resources we offer, we have our EE Learn modules. Right now it's the series of 4. The one I'd really point you to is our Equity and Inclusion in EE module. It's free. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to go through it. It has some really great interviews that have been done with leaders in the field, and especially leaders in the field who have a background in equity and inclusion. They're made up of reflection, several lessons, and more. It's really self-paced. It doesn't get graded, but you do get like a certification at the end. And it's a really good place that I point to people to if they're coming to this work for the first time and want like know some of the words, but haven't really delved deep into it. It's a good kind of baseline self-paced course. Then I would also recommend them look into their affiliates and see who's offering the JEDI 101 course that I know Kentucky was one of the pilots of. I always encourage them, like after you do that equity and inclusion EE, if you're still wanting more, go find an affiliate that's offering this course. And then we also have EE Pro, which we kind of call our LinkedIn for environmental educators. And we have all of these EE Pro groups that are kind of conversational spaces, resource sharing, all those kind of things. And we do have one that I'm one of the moderators for, which is our Equity and Inclusion EE Pro group. We also have them on early childhood. There's one for spirituality in EE now. There's a group for that. Advocacy, climate change ed, all kinds of them. And so if you're not already on EE Pro, I highly suggest it. There's so many resources on there. I kind of get overwhelmed going on there myself because it is so much. But if you know something that you're really interested in, it's a great place to kind of search and hone in on maybe a community of practice that you'd like to work with across the country, even globally. The EE Pro groups get some global attention as well. We also offer a webinar series. We try to do it monthly. It's not always monthly, but it's our EE Inspire webinar series. It's a partnership we have with the U.S. Forest Service. And past topics have included EE and Indigenous knowledge, embedding justice and equity in organization. And just recently, we had one called Inclusive Practices for Tumultuous Times, Environmental Educators' Role in Supporting the LGBTQIA+ community. That was about a week and a half ago. The recording is up on our website, and I'll be happy to send the link along. But it is a great webinar with some folks from across the country that I really respect and have worked with, and looking at some of the policy work that has been done across the country against the LGBTQIA community, and how, what are some resources, what are some ways to combat those harmful legislative agendas across the country. And then I'm also going to share a link to this in the chat. Over the last couple of years, we've created a huge resource library of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion resources. It's always updated, curated. We take a look at it every couple of months to add to it. And we continuously are adding different sections. So the most recently added section is our accessibility section with resources there. But it has a section on tools for organizational justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, a section for formal educators, a section for non-formal, a section on Native history, culture, and knowledge, environmental justice resources, resources for trauma-informed education, accessibility, and then LGBTQIA+ resources as well. So it's something that we started in 2020. I started it at first, and it was a long spreadsheet. And then we took that spreadsheet and turned it into a website. And then as we added more capacity in our staff on our communications team, they have kind of taken that over and are constantly updating, checking links, adding things that come across their emails, tables, desks, what have you. And it's a really great place to find some resources that you could Google, but we've tried to vet them as best as possible, that they're good resources and coming from well-known organizations. And just a few forthcoming projects that we have coming down the pike. So our conference and research symposium every year is a great place to attend like in-person sessions on equity and inclusion and justice. This year we're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is, I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but it is the week of the election, which is causing some heartburn here and there. But it's always a great time if you're able to make it. Really great resources, really great speakers. We will have scholarships and volunteer opportunities going live in the next couple of weeks. And there'll be kind of rolling admissions for that. Thank you, Ashley, November 6th through 9th. We also have a website coming called EEVal. I think it's on EEVal 3.0, which is all culturally responsive evaluation tools for doing culturally responsive environmental education and evaluating those programs. And then finally, one of the other exciting things we have coming in July is the latest set of guidelines for excellence, and they're going to be focused on climate change and climate justice. And I know there'll be workshops and those kind of things, definitely at the conference, but I'm sure they will roll out through the network, the affiliate network, and others as those guidelines come out, and then we're able to develop workshops to teach those guidelines to the public. So those are the kind of the three big things I'm most excited about from a national level coming up around equity and inclusion. So then I'll briefly talk about our affiliate networks that KAEE is a part of. So I'm one of the 2 staff members devoted to the affiliate network. My supervisor, Sarah Bodor, who's our Senior Director of Capacity Building, is also kind of my co-collaborator in our affiliate network work. And so we're a web of 54 affiliated organizations that serve tens of thousands of educators across the continent. And we inform, inspire, and spread the beliefs of EE through every region and every community. And in this, we advance policy, practice, and equity and inclusion in environmental learning. And we find that we're better together, and our key is to bringing EE to scale everywhere. And so over the last few years, we've created network goals. They may sound familiar. They look very similar to other goals across the affiliate network and at affiliates. But we focus on building capacity, centering equity, inclusion, justice, diversity, and accessibility, group advocacy and messaging, and to advance additional efforts as they emerge. I call that our additional duties as assigned category. So as things pop up, we respond to them and try to advance the field's response to them. So it's a layered network. So we have NAAEE, who I work for. It's kind of the organization that convenes, and then the affiliate network is part of that, but also started apart from that. And then we have our individual affiliates who are part of the affiliate network, but may also be members of NAAEE, maybe on the board, those kind of things. So it's kind of like 3 spheres that circle around each other in ways. So I really wanted to focus on goal 2 for this call, since we're talking about equity and inclusion. And so goal 2 is kind of the goal I champion within our work plan. Each of the goals are assigned someone as kind of the champion. And so over the last 3 years or so, we've been working to develop network-wide expectations upheld by our kind of governance group, which are the affiliate network working group and advisory group. We work to define and model best practices within our own groups around justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. One of our big goals is to create a suite of organizational assessment tools for affiliates to be able to determine what is the makeup of our leadership, what is the makeup of our board, those kind of things. How have we increased diversity on our board over the last several years? How have we increased diversity across our programming, that kind of thing. Thinking about expectations and accountability measures for affiliates, our affiliate network is diverse in the makeup of affiliates. So some, like KAE, have multiple staff members, executive directors, and then we have some that it's one person who's holding it together in a state, and all they can do is manage to get people together to talk about EE sometimes. And everywhere in between is the diversity of capacities of our affiliates. So we try to honor folks where they're at and support everyone in kind of that spectrum of organizational growth. And then we are also wanting to support affiliates that are implementing JEDI initiatives at their local level and highlight those achievements. So I'm always sharing what other affiliates are doing with other affiliates, and they're sharing what they're doing with each other, and just kind of really talk about what are we doing and how can we replicate this great thing that they're doing in Kentucky and Virginia, or how can we do some great work that they're doing in Maine and Arizona. So that's the real advantage of the network and how the network collaborates together. And so some of our current efforts that we do at the network level is we have network JEDI committee. We're kind of on hiatus while we figure out, what's a good time for folks, how often are we wanting to meet. We used to meet monthly, and that has become it's hard to get everyone together once a month consistently and not spend half the call talking about what we had done the previous call. So we're trying to find that place where we can get folks to be there regularly and maybe work on one project for 3 months and say, hey, I'm going to take a break because this is my busy schedule season. I'll come back when things die down and work on another project with y'all. So kind of approaching it with a micro volunteering aspect. We also do community check-in calls. So every quarter, I focus one of those community check-in calls on the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion work that are being done at the affiliate level, and kind of talk about, what programs do you have going on? What are struggles that you have? It's really kind of that a community of practice like this is, but across our network. This year, we offered grants through EE360, which is our collaborative agreement with the EPA. And this year we focused those grants on working with underserved communities as part of our Justice 40 effort. And so we offered bridge building and community catalyst grants, which are really designed to get affiliates working with community organizations they may not have worked with before, but want to work with, and kind of be good partners. And then for those who may have already had a partner that they were working with, to fund some kind of program or offering at a larger scale for them to work with the underserved community, which was defined by the affiliates themselves. So we didn't have really stringent requirements of which community they were to work with, but they could find groups in their own communities that they wanted to work with. So for example, our Utah affiliate is doing, in collaboration with one of their organizational members, a summer camp for unhoused youth in the Salt Lake City area, to look at like trauma-informed care, foraging, how to build shelter, all those kind of things, but also to be a safe space for them during the day when schools are out and providing food and that kind of thing. We also have a couple affiliates doing work to pilot programs in Spanish and with Spanish-speaking educators in their community. So wherever they saw the need, they were able to apply for and get funding for projects that they wanted to do. And if you want to get involved, you could be a part of the developing tools or implementing any tools that come out. We didn't create the tool, but I'm sure you've heard about the EE guidance for equitable hiring that SIA produced. And that's one of those tools that we're trying to get affiliates to go out and share with their networks. And I've been doing some workshops on that kind of thing. So using some things that we've created as within some of the networks to share out with the larger network. I think that, yes, that's everything that I'm sharing today. I'm definitely open to questions. It was like drinking from a fire hose, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.